In lecture series on Introduction to Radar System, we are now going to discuss radar equation. This radar equation actually the basics of the radar, pulse radar, particularly pulse radar system. Later on, we'll try to modify that radar equation that we are going to derive, and we will insert different complexities one by one in the radar equation. It relates the range of the radar to the characteristics of the transmitter, receiver, antenna, target at the same time with the environment. Radar equation useful as a means for determining the maximum measurable distance from the radar to the target. It serves both as a tool for understanding radar operation and as a basis for radar design. So this is a pictorial view of radar. Radar used to move its beam by 360 degree generally for searching radars, and during this rotation, if some target present within this range, then that must be detected by this radar. Now this maximum range over which, or the maximum region over which the radar can measure, that is given with the help of radar equation. To understand radar equation, we will first consider a bistatic geometry of radar. Now radar may be monostatic or bistatic or multistatic. The basic difference between these three are if this transmitter and the receiver are placed in the same geographic location, then it is called monostatic. And this figure is showing the bistatic. That means transmitter and receiver, they are present at two different geographic locations. And for multistatic, we have number of receivers placed at different locations in different geographic locations. So for multistatic radar, the number of receivers are we have actually n number of receivers instead of single receiver. So first we will consider the radar equation for bistatic geometry, and then we will come back to the monostatic radar, because monostatic radar is the most important type of radar. At the same time, this is a very common type of radar. So let us try to understand this bistatic geometry. Transmitter consists of one antenna. An antenna, gain of this antenna is written as GT. Now if transmitted power is PT, then power per unit solid angle can be written as PT into GT. The transmitted power multiplied by the gain. Now this RR is the distance between the transmitter radar and transmitter section of the radar and the target. This is the target. We can call it as scatterer. So RT is the distance between transmitter and the target. Similarly, RR is the distance between the receiver and the target, and they are in two geographic locations. Okay. Now we have to consider the spreading loss. Spreading loss means while traversing through this path, the beam will diverge. So all the power will not come to the scatterer. Some power will go in this direction and some power may go in this direction. So obviously we have to incorporate this idea, and for that we need this spreading loss. To calculate the power near this target or scatterer, we have to consider the power through 1 meter square area, that is called the power density, that is written as SS. Now the power coming from the transmitter will incident on the target or scatterer. Out of that, a fraction of that power will be absorbed by the target, and that may be converted into heat or something else. Rest of the power will be re-radiated by the target. So a portion of the re-radiated power will come to the receiver. Now we are assuming that receiver is receiving PR amount of power, and receiver is actually characterized by SR, where SR is this power per power through unit area actually, and GR is the gain of this receiver antenna, this one. So with this geometry we will try to understand the radar equation. Now since target is actually re-radiating and absorbing the transmitted power, we have to consider some effective area of this target as well, and that is written as ARS, and power per unit area at the receiver point SR. Also during this journey we have some spreading laws written as 1 by 4 pi RR square. So with this, let us try to understand the radar equation. The power density incident on scatterer is power density written as SS, that means power per unit area. So power coming is PT into GT divided by the spreading loss, that means PT GT divided by 4 pi RT square. Now power intercepted by the scatterer, see this SS is the power density, power per unit area. So if effective area of the scatterer is ARS, then the power intercepted by the scatterer would be SS into ARS, that is written as PRS. Now this amount of power is intercepted by the scatterer. Out of this PRS amount of power, a fraction FA will be absorbed and rest of the power will be re-radiated. So the power re-radiated by the scatterer, written as PTS, that can be written as the power intercepted minus the power absorbed. PRS into FA is the absorbed power. So the transmitted power or the radiated power, rather re-radiated power, PTS equal to PRS minus PRS into FA. That means PRS into 1 minus FA. So power density at the receiver, that can be written as PTS GTS. This is the amount of power coming towards the receiver divided by the spreading loss. So this is SR, power per unit area at the receiver side. Now if the effective area of the receiver is AR, then the power intercepted or the power received by the receiver, that is PR, can be written as PR equal to SR into AR. So if we combine all these pieces, we will get PR equal to PT GT AR divided by 4 pi RT RR whole square into ARS into 1 minus FA into GTS. Now if we consider the terms in the third bracket, actually that is actually contains the property of the scatterer. That means ARS, FA, GTS, these are actually the properties of the scatterer. So we will actually want to represent all these parameters in terms of a single parameter sigma, and that sigma is called the radar scattering cross section, or RCS. And RCS value depends on the scatterer's shape and composition, as well as on the observation geometry. We will discuss it later on. For bistatic observation, sigma is a function of theta 0 phi 0, theta s phi s, and these are two new terms, pi and ps. So theta 0 phi 0 is the direction of incident power, this one theta 0 and phi 0. Theta s and phi s, direction of scattered power, so this is theta s, and this one is phi s, direction of scattered power. Pi and ps are the polarization state of incident and scattered field. So transmitter to scatterer, we have polarization state of Pi, and scatterer to the receiver, we have polarization state of PS. And since its dimension is basically cross section, so its unit must be meter square. RCS unit is meter square. Now we will come back to the monostatic system, but the transmitter and receiver antennas are co-located, so may be placed side by side, or same antenna may be used. So under this condition, what happens? This is the geometry of monostatic radar. So transmitter and receiver are same, and we are assuming as if the antenna is also the same. So spreading loss, instead of considering RT and RR, now we will consider the range as R. So spreading loss will be 1 by 4 pi R square in both the ways. From here to the scatterer we have a spreading loss, and from scatterer towards the radar we have another spreading loss. So under this condition, theta 0 equal to theta s, phi 0 equal to phi s, and RT equal to RR. So radar cross section becomes function of theta phi, pi and ps. So radar equation for monostatic situation is PR equal to PT GT AR divided by 4 pi R square whole square sigma. Or we can write it in terms of R to the power 4. So R to the power 4 equal to PT GT AR divided by 4 pi square PR into sigma. Now if the same antenna, or you can use identical antenna, are used for monostatic radar system, in that case GT equal to GR, so we can write it as in terms of G AT AR, that may be written in terms of A, and recognizing the relationship between A and G, this is coming from the radar principles, that G equal to 4 pi A divided by lambda square, or A equal to lambda square G by 4 pi. So this is the relationship between gain and the effective area. So we can rewrite the expression PR equal to PT G square lambda square sigma divided by 4 pi whole cube R to the power 4, or in terms of effective area we can write it as PT A square sigma divided by 4 pi lambda square R to the power 4. Now if we want to include some losses, because this transmitter this is electronic equipment, and this one is radar. During this path, and even here we have number of losses, okay, and that loss is actually reduces the receive power. So whatever we will calculate PR, actually we will receive slightly lesser power, because we have, if we don't consider these loss associated with various components. So if we include that loss in terms of L, so we have to multiply it with this expression of PR, and L is less than 1. So this is the final expression, PR into Pt g square lambda square sigma L by 4 pi whole cube r to the power 4. Generally, this loss is not included directly with this equation. The maximum radar range, Rmax, is the distance beyond which the target cannot be detected. It occurs when the received echo signal power PR just equals the minimum detectable signal S mean. So, if we neglect the loss, the simplest form of radar range equation can be written as Rmax equal to PTGA sigma by 4 pi whole square S mean whole to the power 1 by 4. So now you can understand the importance of this S mean. This is the minimum amount of power that the radar receiver can detect. So if received echo power becomes less than this S mean, radar will not be recognize that amount of that power or that echo as a valid echo from a target. It will actually mix with the noise if the echo signal is less than the S mean. Extraction of useful information using signal analysis requires that the signal be discernible from noise, interference, and clutter. Noise usually originates inside the receiver itself. Example is the receiver noise figure, though may also come from external sources like thermal emission, lightning, etc. or cosmic noise are there. Interference is another coherent, spectrally narrow emission that impedes the reception of the desired signal. The example is a kind of jammer, and it may originate internally or externally. Internally means if there is some leakage path between transmitter and receiver, then that leakage will produce a jamming effect. And external means if some enemy is producing jamming signal, that will be treated as external jammer or external jamming signal. Now third one is the clutter. Clutter is unwanted radar echoes that interfere with the observation of signals from targets of interest. Actually, clutter is the echo signal coming from everything other than the target. And as you know, in open space, from the view of radar, since radar is placed at the open place, so it will receive echo signals from anything present in the ambience. That means it may be mountain, it may be trees, it may be towers, it may be buildings. So everything will return some power, and that power will be received by the radar. Now you can control that clutter if you remove the transmitted power, right? But if you remove the transmitted power, you will not be able to detect the target at all. That means transmitted power will be there. Since transmitted power is there, so clutter will be there. That means for a radar engineer, it is very difficult to uh, to identify the actual target echo from the clutter echo, because clutter echo is also echo, but those objects are not target. That's the only difference. Now we will consider the limitations of the simple form of radar equation, that is already have discussed or determined. So does not adequately describe the performance of tactical radar. Many important factors that affect range are not implicitly included. Explicitly may be included, but explicitly uh, they are not included. In practice, the observed maximum radar ranges are usually much smaller than what would be predicted by this equation. Sometimes by as much as factor of 2. So there are many reasons for the failure of the simple radar equation to correlate with actual performance, and these will be explained subsequently in the modified radar range equations. Now radar equation states that if long ranges are desired, that means if we want larger value of Rmax, in that case how we can obtain, how we can get that thing. So the transmitted power must be large. This is one condition. The radiated energy must be concentrated into a narrow beam. So high transmitting antenna gain is required. The received echo energy must be collected with a large antenna aperture. That is also synonymous with the high gain. So actually gain of the antenna, transmitter antenna or receiver antenna, whatever may be, or both, the gain of the antenna must be made very large. The receiver must be sensitive to weak signals. So these are few conditions. If we can maintain these conditions, then that Rmax, maximum range, may be enhanced. Now we will consider the basic and simplified block diagram of a pulse radar. So in the transmitter part, we have a pulse modulator, and that pulse modulator will actually produce the pulse and it will operate the transmitter section. Here we have the high power amplifier is there, so it will switch on and off this high power amplifier, so that the output of the transmitter will be a train of pulses at RF frequency. Now that high power transmitter signal must go through to the antenna for transmission, for radiation rather, and that is done, switching is done with the help of a special component called duplexer. So duplexer will allow the transmitter high power of transmitter to switch towards the antenna. Now the power will be radiated and some echo will come back through antenna. Then the duplexer will route or will switch that weak echo signal towards the receiver. So this is the job performed by the duplexer. And if we see this animation or animated figure, when the transmitter wants to transmit, this switch is closed. This is the duplexer. So this switch is closed and the power will go from antenna, and during the reception part, when antenna receives some echo signal, this switch is connected to the receiver. and that must be done automatically. Though it is showing some mechanical single pole double throw type of switch, but actually it must be an electronic switch. Okay, and it must switch at a very fast rate. At the same time, there should not be any leakage between transmitter and receiver, so that we have to take care of. So this is the job performed by the duplexer. When transmitter wants to transmit, it will connect this path, and when receiver wants to receive, it will connect this path. This is the job performed by the duplexer. Now the receiver is a super heterodyne type of receiver, usual super heterodyne type of receiver. So first stage is the low noise RF amplifier, and this low noise RF amplifier takes care of the overall system noise figure. Then we have a mixer, and the other output of the mixer is coming from the local oscillator, and the local oscillator frequency is adjusted in such a fashion that the difference between the incoming signal and the local oscillator signal becomes the intermediate frequency signal. So difference frequency must be equal to the IF. So after this mixer we have IF amplifier. Also there is some filter. IF filter is also there, and in radar terminology we can call it as matched filter, because it will improve the signal to noise ratio or maximize the signal to noise ratio. So output of the IF amplifier is connected to the second detector, that is the demodulator. So after demodulation we have video amplifier, so that we can see those figures in the display that we have already given or already shown in our first lecture. So this is the basic block diagram of the pulse radar system. So see you in the next class. So right now let us have some exam or test.